Finn stood in the sterile, clinical atmosphere of the hospital, his thoughts swirling with confusion as he looked at the medical file before him. It had all started so innocuously, a routine checkup, a simple procedure meant to monitor Luna's pregnancy. After all, the child she was carrying was supposed to be Will's, the result of their relationship and their plans for the future. But as Finn went through the results, something didn't add up. The blood work, the genetic tests, the scans all pointed to a shocking revelation. This wasn't Will's child. Luna, the woman he had known for so long, the woman who had been a part of the Spencer family, had been hiding a secret far more devastating than anyone could have imagined. The child she carried wasn't Will's biological son. The test results showed an entirely different DNA match, one that pointed to an anonymous sperm donor, someone entirely unrelated to Will. Finn's heart raced, his mind struggling to piece together the implications of what he had just discovered. The realization hit him like a freight train, and he stood there frozen, unable to comprehend how deep the web of deceit went. Luna had deceived Will, and in doing so, she had manipulated the Spencer family into believing something entirely false. The truth was too much to bear. Finn felt an overwhelming sense of betrayal and confusion. He had always been close to Will and had seen the bond he shared with Luna, the plans they had made for their future. But now, everything was unraveling before him. Finn couldn't understand why Luna would go to such lengths to deceive not only Will but also the entire Spencer family. The implications of her actions were far-reaching, and the trust between them all had been shattered. Luna had chosen to use artificial insemination, and not just with any donor. Finn's investigation soon revealed that Luna had gone to great lengths to keep this secret, even taking steps to ensure that the real father of her child was never known. The fact that she had kept this hidden from Willow had been making plans for a life with the child as his own was a betrayal beyond measure. It wasn't just a matter of personal deceit. It was a matter of the trust and loyalty that had been built between the Spencer family and Luna. Finn's feelings were mixed, torn between his loyalty to Will and his growing disgust over Luna's actions. He knew he couldn't stay silent about the truth. As a doctor, his ethics dictated that he speak up when the truth was being concealed. But as he thought about the repercussions, the toll this would take on the Spencer family, he hesitated. Could he really expose Luna's deception? Could he truly shatter the lives of everyone around him? The answer was clear, even though it filled him with dread. The Spencer family needed to know the truth, no matter how painful it would be. As Finn gathered his thoughts, he couldn't ignore the fact that Bill Spencer, the patriarch of the Spencer family, was already taking drastic steps to make Luna an official part of their family. Bill had embraced Luna, giving her a place in the Spencer legacy, especially after the news that she was carrying his grandchild. The announcement had been grand, full of promises for the future. Bill had welcomed Luna into the fold, hoping to bring stability to the family after so much turmoil. He had been overjoyed at the prospect of becoming a grandfather, and in his eyes, Luna had been nothing but a blessing to the Spencer name. But Finn knew that the truth would turn everything upside down. If Luna wasn't carrying Will's child, if this entire situation had been built on a lie, then what would happen to the Spencer family's future? What would happen to Bill's affection for Luna, and to the legacy he had envisioned for the child? Finn knew the stakes were high, and he couldn't stay silent any longer. It wasn't just about Luna's deception. It was about the trust between him and Will, and the trust that the Spencer family had placed in Luna. It was about the integrity of everything they had built together. As Finn wrestled with his emotions, he realized that the truth had to come out. The longer it was kept hidden, the more damage it would do. But how would he reveal it? What would the consequences be for Luna, for Will, and for the entire Spencer family? The thought of shattering their world made Finn hesitate, but the weight of the secret was too much for him to carry alone. He knew that keeping quiet would be a betrayal in itself. The decision was made. Finn would expose the truth, no matter the cost. It was the right thing to do, no matter how devastating it would be. The day Finn chose to reveal the truth was a day none of the Spencers would ever forget. It was a day that changed the course of their lives, A day when everything they thought they knew about family loyalty and trust was thrown into question. The Spencer family had gathered at the Forrester estate to celebrate Luna's official acceptance into their family. Bill had made a grand announcement, declaring Luna as a permanent part of their lives. Will stood beside him, smiling, oblivious to the truth that Finn had discovered. The room was filled with celebration, the promise of a bright future hanging in the air. It was at that moment that Finn made his entrance. With a sense of purpose and a heavy heart, he approached Bill, Will, and the rest of the family. The guests at the gathering noticed the tension in the air, sensing something was wrong, but no one knew what to expect. Finn took a deep breath, gathering his courage. The words came out slowly, almost painfully. "I need to talk to you all. There's something you don't know about Luna's pregnancism thing that can't be ignored." The room fell silent, the air thick with uncertainty. Bill's smile faltered, and Will turned to Finn, a look of confusion on his face. Finn continued, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "The child Luna is carrying is not yours, Will. The DNA tests confirm it. This child was conceived through artificial insemination, and the donor is someone else entirely." A stunned silence filled the room as the truth hit everyone like a tidal wave. Bill's face went pale, his mind racing to comprehend what Finn had just revealed. Will stood frozen, unable to process the enormity of the revelation. Luna's eyes widened in shock, her entire world unraveling before her. The lie that she had carried for so long was exposed in an instant, and with it, her relationship with Will, with Bill, and with the entire Spencer family came crashing down. The shock was overwhelming. Bill looked at Luna, his gaze full of disbelief. How could she have deceived him so completely even after he had welcomed her into the family with open arms? The betrayal was too much for him to bear. Will, meanwhile, was reeling from the revelation. He had spent so much time imagining a future with a child he believed to be his own. To learn that the baby wasn't his, it was a blow that shook him to his very core. He had been deceived, manipulated by the woman he trusted most. The consequences of Finn's revelation were immediate and devastating. Luna tried to defend herself, but the weight of the truth was undeniable. There was no way to explain away the deception, no way to undo the damage she had caused. She had taken away not only Will's future, but also the trust and love of the Spencer family. The storm had broken, and nothing would ever be the same. In the wake of the revelation, the Spencer family found themselves divided, each member grappling with the fallout from Luna's betrayal. Bill was left heartbroken, Will was lost in his pain and anger, and Luna was left to face the consequences of her actions. Finn, while feeling a mix of guilt and relief, knew that the truth had to be heard. But as the family struggled to pick up the pieces, it was clear that the road ahead would be filled with difficult decisions, shattered relationships, and the long road to healing. The shockwaves of Finn's revelation would reverberate through the Spencer family for years to come. The storm that had been quietly brewing in the Spencer family for months finally erupted with full force, and it was nothing short of devastating. Finn's revelation had shattered the delicate illusion of trust and love that had existed between Luna and Will. The truth about Luna's deception, fact that she had undergone artificial insemination using a donor's sperm instead of Will's, was a brutal blow to Will. One that struck at the core of everything he thought he knew about his life, his relationships, and his future. Will stood in stunned silence as the truth sank in, the world around him spinning uncontrollably. The child Luna was carrying, the child he had grown so attached to, was not his. For months, he had believed that this baby was the result of their love, that it was a symbol of hope for their future together. He had imagined a life as a father, dreaming of all the milestones they would share. But now, with one revelation, all of that had been ripped away from him. The profound betrayal he felt was indescribable. The trust he had placed in Luna was completely shattered, leaving him adrift in a sea of confusion and pain. For days, Will could not bring himself to face Luna. The woman he had loved, the woman he had trusted, had lied to him in the most fundamental way possible. It wasn't just about the baby, it was about the lies, the deceit, and the manipulation that Luna had subjected him to. She had made him believe that this child was a product of their loved one. In fact, it was the result of a calculated decision to deceive him. For Will, it was more than just betrayal. It was the complete dismantling of the life he had built in his mind. But despite the agony, one thing remained. Will could not simply walk away from the child Luna was carrying. His heart told him that this baby, despite the deception, was still his responsibility. The child might not share his blood, but it was the product of his future with Luna. Or so he thought. The pain of the betrayal was so deep that it threatened to consume him, but Will knew he had to make a decision. He had to either accept the truth, forgive Luna, and try to move forward, or he had to walk away from the relationship entirely. It was then that Bill Spencer, Luna's staunch protector and father figure, made his entrance into the drama. Bill had always been fiercely protective of Luna, even before her pregnancy. But now, as the truth was exposed, his devotion to her became even more evident. Despite the fact that Luna had lied to Will, Bill refused to accept the idea that she had done anything wrong. To Bill, Luna was still the woman who had been carrying his grandchild, and that made her part of the Spencer legacy, regardless of how she had conceived the child. Bill's response to Finn's revelation was nothing short of fierce. He stood by Luna, declaring that she would remain a part of the Spencer family, and he would not allow anyone to tear her down. As Bill publicly announced that Luna was now officially his daughter-in-law, the tension between him and Will reached its peak. Will's heartbreak, already overwhelming, was compounded by Bill's unwavering stance. For Will, it felt like the final betrayal. His father, his own flesh and blood, was siding with the woman who had deceived him. It was a choice that struck Will to his core. Bill's commitment to Luna only deepened the divide between father and son. How could Bill, who had always prided himself on his family values, stand by a woman who had lied and manipulated him so thoroughly? The clash between Will and Bill was inevitable. The battle over Luna wasn't just about the woman or the child she carried. It was about the destruction of trust between them all. Will, still reeling from Luna's betrayal, found himself faced with the impossible question of whether he could continue to stand by her, or whether he should cut ties completely. His mind was a battlefield of conflicting emotions. On one hand, he loved the child Luna was carrying, and in his heart, he still wanted to believe in the future they had planned. On the other hand, the betrayal was so deep, so unforgivable, that the thought of continuing a relationship with Luna felt like an insurmountable challenge. As Will and Bill's conflict escalated, Finn found himself standing in the middle of it all, caught between his loyalty to Will and his desire to see justice done. He had been the one to expose the truth, but he knew the repercussions of his actions would be far-reaching. The Spencer family, already fractured by years of tension, was now on the verge of complete collapse. Finn had done what he thought was right, but now he was left to watch as the destruction unfolded. His role in the drama was far from over, and as the battle for Luna and the child she carried raged on, Finn began to realize that the fight was no longer just about truth, it was about survival, loyalty, and what it meant to be part of a family. Will, torn between his love for Luna and the anguish of her deception, began to distance himself further from her. The emotional toll of the situation was too much. He had given her his heart, only to have it shattered by her lies. And now, as Bill insisted that she was still his daughter-in-law, the very fabric of Will's family began to unravel. It wasn't just a question of love anymore. It was a question of identity. Was Will's place in the Spencer family secure, or was he being cast aside in favor of Luna, a woman who had lied to him in the most painful way possible? In the face of such intense emotion and uncertainty, Will found himself at a crossroads. The weight of his decision whether to continue his relationship with Luna or sever ties forever was overwhelming. He knew that whatever choice he made, it would have profound consequences for the Spencer family and for his own future. But the deeper Will delved into his feelings, the more he realized that the decision wasn't just about Luna. It was about who he was and what he was willing to stand for. Could he continue to love and trust the woman who had betrayed him? Or was it time to walk away and rebuild his life from the wreckage? As the family dynamic shifted and the battle for Luna's place in the Spencer family intensified, the stakes grew higher. Will's relationship with Bill had been irreparably damaged, and the tension between father and son reached a boiling point. The lines were drawn, and both Will and Bill found themselves on opposite sides of a battle neither had wanted. Luna, caught in the middle, felt more isolated than ever before. She had been the catalyst for the chaos that was tearing the family apart, and no matter how hard she tried to justify her actions, the damage was done. The decision was inevitable. Will could not continue to live in the shadow of Luna's lies. The child she carried, though dear to his heart, could not erase the betrayal that had been committed. Will chose to walk away from Luna, severing the connection that had once seemed so promising. It was a painful, difficult decision, but it was the only choice that allowed him to preserve some semblance of dignity and trust. As he left her behind, Will knew that the road ahead would be long and uncertain, but it was the only way forward. Bill, furious at Will's rejection of Luna, doubled down on his support for her. He would not let anyone, not even his own son, tear apart the family he had worked so hard to build. As the conflict between father and son escalated, the future of the Spencer family hung in the balance. Could they ever rebuild the trust that had been shattered? Would Luna's child become the symbol of division or reconciliation? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain: battle over Luna and the child she carried would have lasting consequences for everyone involved. And as Will and Bill found themselves on opposite sides of the conflict, the Spencer family was forced to confront the painful reality of betrayal, trust, and the price of loyalty.